I got to show them these slugs that he's throwing up.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He is more impressed.
I've heard you've been giving out signed photos. How come I haven't got one? Then Harry.
Welcome back, witches, wizards, and muggles to Squibscorner. I am Jeremiah.
And I'm Andrew.
And I just want to say real quick, thank you everybody for listening and watching us. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Just send this to everybody that you know that likes Harry Potter. We would appreciate it, and it would help out the podcast.
There you go.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our chapter. We're going to... Actually, you know what? We're doing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. And we're just going to get right into that 7-word summary now.
Good, I need to write one.
All right, Andrew's over there writing his. And this is actually another fun chapter. It's just several chapters back to back. I think anything involving Gilderoy is just fun. But I'm going to go ahead and go with my 7-word summary. Money, power, racism, no different than muggles.
Accurate. Very accurate. And this is you see in several chapters, several books, J.K. Rowling addresses real world, real life stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right? So Voldemort being the equivalent of an Adolf Hitler or a Mussolini or a Stalin.
Well, when you describe Voldemort like that, now when I say Voldemort's my favorite character, I sound like a right?
Yeah, no, because he's very well written. I scratch my head, and again, I'm not judging anybody. But, you see people with Death Eater tattoos and all this stuff, and you're like, do you understand where that came from? Like, there's so many deep things from that she was drawing on to use it. And obviously, I don't think any of those people are like, pure blood. I don't think any of that.
It's in the context of Harry Potter.
It's exactly. They're big Harry Potter fans, and that's the part of the universe that they found intriguing, and I get it. I totally get it. That being said, if you ever go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios, actually, it would be in Islands of Adventure.
In Orlando?
Orlando. So Universal Studios is 3 parks now. You have the Universal Park, you have Islands of Adventure, and now you have Epic, which is about to open fully to the public. So in Islands of Adventure, you have Hogsmeade and Hogwarts. So if you go there during October, Halloween area, when it gets dark, all the lights will dim down, and they'll turn on these green lights, and mist will come out, and the Death Theaters come out, and it's so good. Like it's so good.
One day, I'm just gonna go down there, and my son and my fiance is gonna be. How long are we gonna be here? I don't know. 3, 4, 5, 6 days, maybe a week.
Years. Who knows?
I don't know. Till I get tired of it.
I've put in an application. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna work at Universal. Here's the fun thing. I was telling a patient today. She and her longtime partner, fiance, whatever they are, they're kind of at a crossroads. She wants to go to Texas. He wants to go to Florida. His job, all this stuff. I said, look, if you're going to be that close to Orlando and you don't know what you want to do, just go get a job at Disney. They're always hiring. They treat their employees incredibly well. Yeah. And do that until you figure out, but go have some fun. You get into the parks free. I mean, you gotta have fun in life. Sometimes you got to stop taking it so seriously. But what do you got for your 7-word summary? My 7-word summary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good. Harry and the chapter of plot seeds.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. It's not. I did listen to it. It's not completely fresh in my head, but as we go, I know when I was listening to it, I went, oh.
Yeah, when you read through it the first time, some of them are so like, I don't need to remember that.
Yeah.
At all. I don't need to remember that. And I love that
when you go through and do these 7 chapter notables,
7 chapter notables,
it makes you think. We're already thinking of the chapters differently, but doing the 7 chapter notables, you're thinking even more different. So
absolutely,
it adds on, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
So good, so good. Okay, so again, chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. We did our 7 words. Okay, so the 7 chapter notables. Number 1, Quidditch is back. We've brought it back. Number 2, new equipment, new seeker in the old Quidditch universe. Number 3, the M word. Number 4, what's on Hagrid's table? Number 5, the defense against the dark arts position. Number 6, a reminder of Hagrid's past. And then number 7.
You changed them. They're different over here.
I did change them. I saw that you were highlighting them as I was finishing the chapter.
Oh.
So I don't even think that your script has the end of the chapter, which I wrote for you, so I might have to finish the chapter. And then number 7, the voice and the award.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah. So we'll recap. What was the name of our last chapter?
My guy, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Gilderoy Lockhart. Yes. So Harry and our bestest friends, Ron and Hermione. First week of school, we've gone through some charms. We've gone through some transfiguration. We've gone through, or did we do charms? No. They mentioned charms in this chapter with Flitwick. So we do Professor Sprout, so herbology. Then we do transfiguration. And we've got defense against the dark arts.
Yes.
Which is Gilderoy Lockhart, who has so far proven himself not to be an amazing wizard, but a complete egomaniacal narcissist.
He's great.
And so now we start with the first chapter. Or the first paragraph of chapter 7. Harry spent a lot of time over the next few days dodging out of sight whenever he saw Gilderoy Lockhart coming down a corridor. Harder to avoid was Colin Creevey, who seemed to have memorized Harry's schedule. Nothing seemed to give Colin a bigger thrill than to say, "All right, Harry," 6 or 7 times a day, and hear, "Hello, Colin," back, however exasperated Harry sounded when he said it.
Yeah. And I need to make a correction. Last chapter, I said Colin was not able to get the pictures developed, but he was able to get the pictures developed.
Yes.
And did you include that in here? Because the description of the pictures that he printed out, I thought were very hilarious.
That is in the script.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yes. It was great. So Harry is dealing with avoiding Lockhart, being patient with Colin. Hedwig is still mad at him from the miserable landing of the Fort Anglia, and Ron is having a hard time with his broken wand. The end of the first week could not have come soon enough. Thinking he was going to have a relaxing weekend, Harry was shaken awake early Saturday morning by Oliver Wood, the Quidditch captain for Gryffindor. It was time for Quidditch practice. Not only was it early morning, what was it, like 5 or 6 or 7, something like that?
Well, it just says that there was just a sliver of light.
Yeah,
just
somewhere around there, depending on the time. Yeah. Not only was it early morning, there was a sliver of sunlight, like you just said, and mist covering the grounds. But Colin Creevey followed him down to the pitch with his camera. Colin showed him the picture he had taken of Harry and Lockhart. So, the picture also showed that Harry hated Lockhart. And
yes.
I want to talk about the picture for a little bit. So, the picture, it said that Lockhart, grabbed Harry by the arm, and Harry was kind of trying to get away, and then eventually he just reluctantly got into the picture.
Yeah, Harry's trying to get away. And Lockhart's trying to pull him back. And Harry was Harry was happy with his photographed self that he too.
Yeah, it's so great because that's not at all what the picture was. The pictures have their own personalities, and I love it. Oh, I had to mention it. So Harry resigned himself to explaining all the rules to Colin, but he still kept peppering Harry with questions. Harry finally breaking away from him when he entered the Gryffindor changing room. And so Colin seems... I don't think he's annoying. He just sounds excited to be there. And
he's a muggle, right? He's muggle-born.
Yeah.
So
well, I think at some point...
all...
Yeah, Harry was being a little rude with him, and Colin, he just didn't care. He just kept, okay, well, I'm going to keep asking questions and be all happy.
If you look at the circumstances of the last week, Harry couldn't get through the barrier, thought they were going to miss out on school, crashed the car, the Howler, Mr. Weasley, and Snape, they thought they were going to get expelled. And now it's like, oh my gosh, immediately I've got this kid just tailing me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could imagine that would be frustrating and annoying.
Oh no, it's great. It's great no matter how you look at it. I love it. Okay, what question do you got for me that I'll probably get wrong?
I think you can get this one.
Oh yeah?
I think you can get this. It's not particularly difficult, but you might miss it.
You've set your expectations a little too high then.
Name me
Andrew.
the players on the Gryffindor Quidditch team in Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
And position.
I don't think I could do that.
You can do it. You can do it.
So Harry, there's 7? Right?
All true. Yes.
So Harry's the seeker. Woods is the goal. Then we have
They don't call it.
Fred.
They don't call it goalie.
The keeper.
Offended Europe.
Then we have Fred and George as the beaters. And is it Alicia? No, it's not Alicia Spennett.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Alicia Spennett. She would be a chaser.
All true.
And Angelina. It's not Angelina George.
Oh, you're so close though. Wrong
Angelina
letter.
Johnson.
Yep.
Yes, she is another chaser. And I'm missing one.
Come on now.
I'm missing
Come on now.
one.
Everyone listening is yelling.
I bet they are.
If you need a hint, let me know.
Yeah, I think I need a hint.
So this girl is on the team even when Harry becomes captain. And she...
It's not Jenny.
No, because Jenny's a first year.
Yeah.
She touched a cursed necklace that was meant for Dumbledore.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name. Katie Bell.
There.
Katie Bell.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, and she's also a chaser.
The three ladies.
I got it.
The dominating trio.
It was wasn't the best quiz, but you know what? I got there in the end.
You got there in the end. Because here's the thing. I only gave you the hint on one of them, so you got 6 of 7.
Yeah, I'll take. That's still an A.
That's not an A, but that's okay.
Well, a B plus, whatever.
9
Close
of 10.
enough to an A.
You know, we're happy for you. Okay, so Harry is shaken awake by Oliver Wood early on a Saturday morning after a pretty hectic first week.
Yeah,
so, true to Wood's style, he had spent the summer devising new tactics and schemes to help Gryffindor win the Quidditch Cup. And demonstrating these tactics was so boring that it was putting people to sleep. There were many different... It's pretty cool. It's like they've got X's and O's and arrows and stuff, and he would tap it, and it would, it would be a 20...
It's great. It's like being at work and having that meeting, and you're like, yeah, this could have been an email or a text.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah. And so what's funny is he booked the pitch, and then he spent like over an hour in the changing room. So
I wonder how long they have the pitch booked for. I never thought of that till right now.
That's a good question. I assume it couldn't be all day, because then that could be a tactic against the other team.
Well, I was going to say, seeing as who showed up at that time, he
Sure.
might have just wasted all their time talking.
Yeah, like wasted all their time.
Yeah.
And can you tell me this? Why didn't Gryffindor win the cup last year?
Well, because Harry was unconscious in the hospital.
Here's a question for you. From what we know, Quidditch teams can have substitutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I know where you're going with this.
When Harry and Fred and George were banned in the 5th year, they got replacements. That's when Ginny went from a chaser to a seeker when Harry couldn't play. But in this one, it specifically says that they lost last year because Harry was in the hospital wing and they had to play a man down. So it was 6-on-7. I think we've got some inconsistency here.
Well, I would assume, when Fred and George got banned, they had no choice but to replace him, and they might have had more time. Now, Harry getting injured, I guess maybe they could have had time to replace him. You would think a runner-up, right? Because a lot of people have to.
Yeah.
Well, Harry did not try out. I could hear the hail. Harry did not try out for the Quidditch team. McGonagall put him there.
Sure, that's true.
So there was no tryout for Seeker.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they could have. We don't know who the Seeker was before Harry.
Yeah.
So we don't know if they're still at. We assume that they've graduated because McGonagall says, "I've found you a new Seeker." But
they could have organized it a little bit better, had some bench warmers.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they knew other people that played. I mean, you got to assume. I always assumed that, like any other school, Hogwarts had PE. They just don't talk about it. They were playing Quidditch and stuff on their free time. Anyway, so Woods was still a little bothered because he said we're far and away the better team, and us not winning it last year was garbage. So when they finally walked out to the field, the sun was all the way up. Ron and Hermione were there waiting to see what was happening. Harry is able to get on his broom, and he just right back in it. That feeling of him being able to fly on his broom is like, yes, loving it. And then there was Colin Creevey in the stands taking photographs of everything. And Oliver Wood sees this and is like, no. Is this a spy? Is this a Slytherin spy?
Well, okay, so here's the thing that I got confused. He was annoyed that Colin was there because it sounded like people usually don't watch them practice.
But then Harry and Hermione.
Maybe it was because, I was going to say Ron and Hermione were there.
But he knew Ron and Hermione.
Yeah.
He knew Ron and Hermione.
And Creevey was taking pictures.
Yeah, brand new. Yeah, I'm sure it was, which was funny because it's almost like he did know who he was because he goes, who's that first year? And why is he taking pictures? Is it a Slytherin spy? And then one of the Weasleys is like, well, I don't think he's a Slytherin spy, or we need a Slytherin spy because the Slytherin team just showed up. Mm-hmm. So Oliver goes down, Harry goes down, George and Fred go down, and then eventually our trio of ladies chasers go down, and Wood is upset. He's like, get out of here. I booked the pitch. And then Marcus Flint, the ogre-looking captain of the Slytherin team, is like, oh, but I've got a handwritten note from Snape that lets us use the pitch. And he reads it. I, Professor S. Snape, gave the Slytherin team permission to practice today on the Quidditch field, owing to the need to train their new Seeker. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah.
I felt good about it.
we get to our second chapter notable right here. This obviously shocked the Gryffindor team. They asked who the new Seeker would be. And we already covered. They didn't even get to practice because Oliver Wood wouldn't shut up. So there went all that. And Oliver Wood, he was mad. He was mad that the Slytherin team was walking out. So whether he wasted the time, because it does kind of sound like they got permission to maybe do an emergency practice. And maybe they weren't supposed to be there. Maybe the Gryffindors had more time. So I don't know if anybody's listening and you know that answer. How much time do they have to practice Quidditch? Let us know. Yeah. They all parted to show Draco Malfoy. And I bet everyone listening guessed that. Yeah. And the new Nimbus 2001 broomsticks that the team was given from Lucius Malfoy. Nobody on the team bought their broomsticks. They were given the broomsticks. Ron and Hermione came over to see what was going on. Draco boasts about being the new Seeker and boasts about the new broomsticks and how they're so much better than everyone else's brooms. And I think he goes on to make fun of the Weasleys' clean sweep 5s. I always thought they were clean sweep 7s, but clean sweep 5s. And I think he
does say a funny line there. Like,
yeah,
I gotta give it to Draco. Some of the insults are pretty good.
The Nimbus 2001 what did he say? Sweep the floor with those clean sweeps.
And then he goes, maybe you guys can sell those. A museum might want to buy those.
Oh man. But everything Draco says, he says it to get approval, though. So, you got to take his insults with a grain of salt because he doesn't really mean them, I guess.
Yeah.
It depends on how you look at it. But Hermione drops one of her coldest lines. It's one of the most memorable lines of the Harry Potter series.
I love Hermione.
At least no one on the Gryffindor team had to buy their way in. They got in on pure talent. Yeah. That wiped the smug look off Draco's face right away, and he clapped back real quick. No one asked for your opinion, you filthy little mudblood.
That's a chapter notable right there.
It is a chapter notable.
Word.
Chapter notable number 3. This caused an absolute uproar, and this is actually where my 7-word summary comes into play.
Sure.
Fighting and yelling happened instantly. Then Ron. Oh, Ron. I actually like this. So I'm glad this got put in here because this shows us that you cannot use a broken wand. If anybody's ever thought, I wonder if a broken wand would still produce any type of magic. Well, yes, it does. It's shown when Ron attempted to curse Malfoy. Unfortunately, whatever he tried to do backfired and hit Ron hard in the stomach and threw him to the ground. You got to think that wand's broken, so I'm assuming it's just that magic is getting right to the broken part of the wand and ricocheting right back directly to the person trying to do the spell. Yeah. All bad. Ron got up from the ground, tried to speak, but belched. And he didn't just burp or throw up. Nope. A bunch of slugs came out of his mouth. And that, let me tell you this right now. I got a thing with texture and slimy. No. So if I belch up slugs, vomit is going to precede that.
Naturally.
Yeah. Oh.
Naturally.
Oh.
So we get a glimpse of, in the first book, Hagrid carries around the pink umbrella.
Yes.
Which he told Ollivander that it was broken in two. So when you get expelled or you're no longer allowed to use magic, the ministry requires that the wand be broken.
Yep.
Because everyone thinks that wands cannot be mended. But we know, if you've read the entire series, that a wand can be mended in a very unique situation.
A very, very circumstantial
Very,
way.
very.
And that's only one circumstance.
So my question to you is, the theory is that, well, I mean, it's almost like unspoken canon. Hagrid's wand is in the pink umbrella. Is it in one piece or two pieces in the umbrella?
Oh, I believe it's one piece.
As
a matter of fact.
Yeah. I'll show that beautiful umbrella to us. Yes.
You knew.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think that Dumbledore mended Hagrid's wand. And
I can bet all the money that 1,000 people have in their bank accounts that that's the truth.
Okay, so, and did Ron do a nonverbal spell here?
Yeah, I know in the movies he says, "Eat slugs, Malfoy."
He
points
does,
his wand. Yeah.
But in the book, he says, "Eat slugs, Malfoy," earlier. He mentions
but he
that.
did, I think Hermione intervened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There was no silly wand
But I think he did. I think he did do a non-verbal spell. Whether it was intentional for him to do that or not, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that was just on his mind, like when he was upset, and maybe that was the. Anyway.
Well, and it's a stupid spell too, so it's something that his brothers probably would have taught him that you probably don't need to be extremely powerful to perform that spell.
Sure. So Ron gets hit with his own spell, and now he's belching up slugs. And
he's afraid to replace his wand. He doesn't want to contact his mom so that she could be like, "Oh, oh, and you broke your wand? Mm-hmm,
yeah,
huh.
Yeah, deal with it. This is your fault. Deal with the repercussions.
That's a hand-me-down wand, Ron.
Yeah. What's worse? And we've been in school. We were 12 years old, right? What's worse, belching up slugs or doing it in front of the Slytherins, in front of Draco Malfoy? Like, just the embarrassment that Ron had to go through when that happened.
Okay,
they were doubled up laughing at him.
Yeah, so as an adult, I don't get embarrassed. So throwing up the slugs would be worse because vomiting is just terrible.
Sure.
But as a 12-year-old, vomiting in front of the Slytherins, that would be where I would be embarrassed, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because they're already outside, Harry, Hermione, they take him over to Hagrid's before Colin tries to take a picture of Ron belching up these slugs.
I was like, come on, Colin. What?
Read the room, bro. Read the room.
Why? Don't take pictures of someone throwing up. That's why.
Yeah.
Unless because he does mention like I want to take these pictures of you to prove to my parents, show to my parents.
Right.
So maybe he's like, oh my God, my parents would be so. I got to show them these slugs that he's throwing up.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He is more impressed with the magic than Harry was.
I think
Like
you're right.
anything magic, he's that's incredible.
Yeah.
He's a very happy kid.
So they get to Hagrid's hut. Before they get to Hagrid's hut, the door opens and out walks your boy, Gildy Lockhart. So naturally, seeing Gilderoy.
Real quick, Ron's throwing up slugs. Hospital wing? Naturally? These guys don't do the natural,
These are the
obvious
guys that
thing.
stole a car to get to school. So, I mean, I get we can go to Hagrid's out of convenience, but
Yeah.
and I'm sure
First
Ron.
thought, go to
I'm sure
Hagrid's.
Ron would have been like, "Do not take me into the castle in front of more students to throw up slugs in
that's
front
true.
of people."
And then
So
McGonagall would be like, "What did you do,
maybe,
Weasley?"
what did you do?
Okay,
Another detention. Yeah, I could see. Yeah, Hagrid's is the only choice.
Yeah.
So seeing Lockhart, they hid so that he couldn't see him. And Lockhart is leaving and he's yelling back at Hagrid. And he goes, "It's a simple matter if you know what you're doing. If you need help, you know where I am. I'll let you have a copy of my book. I'm surprised you haven't already got one. I'll sign one tonight and send it over. Well, goodbye.
Not just I'll send one over. I'll sign one and send it over.
Send one over. So once Lockhart was gone, then they went over to Hagrid's. They knock on the door, and Hagrid opens it, looking a little annoyed. But then he sees it's them, and he's like, "Oh, come on in." Whoa, what's wrong with Ron? What's going on with Ron? So they explain to Hagrid what happened to Ron, and then Hagrid dropping some great knowledge. Well, better out than in, I always say.
Yeah, dropping a little Shrek knowledge there. I don't know which one came first, this line or Shrek. Knowledge. So
that's a good question.
And I like that when they came in, Hagrid showed a little vulnerability right there and said, "I was wondering when you guys were going to stop by."
Yeah.
Hagrid, he's just a nice guy. He gets lonely just like everybody else. It's great.
So lonely.
So it's almost like Hagrid has lived his life in a way that he might have experienced something like this before. Better out than in, right?
Absolutely.
Or it could be the fact that we don't know if Hagrid is good at magic or not. Any type of magic, herbs, healing, magic with a wand, we don't know if he was good. You just assume he wasn't very good because he didn't make it through school.
I've thought about that a lot. My assumption is, so what we've seen Hagrid do thus far, he showed up to the cabin on the sea, the cottage at the sea, with no broom, no boat, no nothing. So my theory is, with the close relationship that he has with Dumbledore, it's been 50 years in this book. It's been 50 years since he was expelled.
Yeah.
So I like to think that during the summer times when students aren't at the castle, Dumbledore teaches him not history of magic, maybe not, defense against the dark arts, stuff like that, but charms, definitely, because we see here in a minute that he would have used, an Engorgio charm. But simple magic that he is proficient enough that he can do magic.
And he's also not supposed to be doing it, so he's not going to go showing off and everything like that. So
True.
Not that they would tell anybody. I wouldn't imagine Ron, Harry, or Hermione would say anything to anybody.
They didn't tell.
But you never know who's watching.
Dragon.
You never know who's watching, just like Draco. So Harry asks Hagrid what Lockhart was doing there, and Hagrid tells him that Lockhart was giving him unsolicited advice on how to get Kelpies out of the well. And as we go on, you'll see this is right up Lockhart's alley, unsolicited advice. And we've already seen several instances of this. As Hagrid is getting...
Now we're getting to a chapter notable. Number 4. What's on Hagrid's table?
Yeah, that got me thinking too. I can't. I'm going to think about this real quick. What's on Hagrid's table? Oh, I know. As Hagrid is getting things cleaned up to serve them tea and snacks, he moves a half-plucked rooster from the table. Hagrid then insinuated that Lockhart doesn't know what he's talking about, and he doesn't believe most of the things Lockhart has said he's done. So this is getting to be a reoccurring theme with Lockhart, that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I've heard fan theories about Lockhart, but I'm going to wait to get into them. But the fan theory that I sent you today, spot on.
You sent me 2 things today.
The first one that was longer.
Yeah. I didn't listen to all of it because I had heard the theory before.
Yeah,
and I love it.
It makes sense.
I love the theory.
It makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Hermione didn't like this accusation at all. Like I said, very out of character for Hermione, which is why I go with my theory that his books have some sort of
charming.
Yes. I that's what I think, because this is very weird to hear Hermione be saying this.
Yeah.
She said he was being unfair. She said that Professor Dumbledore obviously thought he was the best man for the job, which I think she's giving Dumbledore a little bit too much credit because he he doesn't always do what's best.
I would
Or
disagree.
maybe he does. It
I
just
would
doesn't.
disagree with that.
I was gonna say maybe he does, but it just doesn't look like it.
Clever man, that Dumbledore. Clever man.
But back to the point that Dumbledore might have thought he was the best man for the job. Well, Hagrid says, well, he was the only one for the job. He then goes on to say, getting very difficult to find anyone for the dark arts job. People aren't too keen to take it on. See? They're starting to think it's jinxed. No one's lasted long for a while now.
And that was chapter notable number 5.
Yeah.
The defense against the dark arts position, people think is jinxed. People don't last long. So far what we know, Quirrell lasted 1 year.
Yeah.
And then nobody applied, which we assume Snape did. Right? We assume Snape has always wanted the defense against the dark arts job, but
well, even before Quirrell, I think there's an ongoing, theory with that as well.
absolutely. We know that there is when we get to book 6. And I love, again, I've told you one of my favorite things about the books, 7 books, she will mention something in passing, like the half-plucked rooster. That comes into play huge at the end of this book, but she just kind of throws it out there. Yeah. And then the defense against the dark arts job. Oh, people think it's jinxed. Did she write this knowing that she was going to write it with different professors every year? Or is that something that evolved? And then she's like, oh yeah, by the way, in 5 books, I'm going to bring this up. This is a long game. 2 sentences there from Hagrid. Like, I love it. I think she does it so great. Shout out to you, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing.
How did Harry Potter get down the hill?
She had a lot of this planned, or if it just kind of, she's like, you know what? We talked about that rooster once. Let me bring that back. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so then Hagrid asks Ron who he was trying to curse. Ron tells him that it was Malfoy because Malfoy called Hermione a mudblood and everything went crazy. And then we learned that Harry and Hermione, obviously Harry knew, it says that when Malfoy said mudblood, that everything went crazy. He's like, so I know that he said something derogatory. But even Hermione didn't know what it meant.
So this gets really confusing here. If you've only watched the movies, this is completely different from the movies. In the movies, Hermione explains what a mudblood is.
Oh, okay.
And right here, she doesn't know what it is.
She doesn't know.
And it's Hagrid that... No, it's Ron that explains what it is. So
Ron and Hagrid kind of trade off on...
well, even Hagrid is like, well, I don't blame you for trying to attack Malfoy. And I was like, oh, that was surprising.
Yeah, so Harry and Hermione don't know what it means, and then Ron, he goes, it's about the most insulting thing you could think of, gasped Ron, coming back up. Mudblood's a really foul name for someone who's muggle-born. Non-magic parents. There are some wizards, like Malfoy's family, who think they're better than everyone else because they're what people call pure blood. It's a disgusting thing to call someone, said Ron, wiping his sweaty brow with a shaking hand. Dirty blood, see? Common blood. It's ridiculous. Most wizards these days are half-blooded anyway. If we hadn't married muggles, we'd have died out. Then Hagrid, so he gets through that, and then kind of that subject is dropped and moved on. And then Hagrid, who gets a little satirical here, he teases Harry. Harry, I got a bone to pick with you. I've heard you've been giving out signed photos. How come I haven't got one? Then Harry, immediately starts boiling, and he's about to retort, and Hagrid starts laughing at him.
No, I was just joking.
I love that.
Do you think Hagrid was joking? If Harry was like, "Oh yeah, I'll sign one for you," Hagrid probably would have been like, "Oh yeah," but. You seen Harry got mad. Oh no! I was just kidding.
No, I think we know Harry. He knows Harry.
Yeah.
And that's not Harry.
Well, we also know Hagrid, and he'll get upset if he's not included. Like, he kind of gets his feelings hurt. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I think he knew though. I think he was joking with him.
And I like that Ron said, if we hadn't married Muggles, we'd have died out. He is very smart in the books, and he doesn't get enough credit in the movies.
True.
And I'm wondering if that's true. Do you think if they hadn't started marrying Muggles that they would have died out?
That's a good question. Over the years, I mean, if you look at witchcraft lore, they've been hunted over and over again. Right? So if you take that into account, then maybe sure. But we really don't know how far. Like, we know the Peverils were 3 brothers that were learned in the magical arts, but we don't know if they were some of the first. Like, how far back does magical blood go? How many families started it? Because I think there was a pure 21, I think, that were noted. So it's almost like, well, if you've got 21 notable pure blood families, there's no reason to mix with Muggles because you've got 21 different families that, but I don't know.
Well, there's still a lot of people out there that believe pure blood is the way to go. So,
as far as
I don't think they would have died out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tosser. Something to think about.
A tosser.
It's a tosser, Potter. Excuse me. So, I'm gonna skip that because we kind of already went over that. I know, I'll go over it. So, even though, Hagrid can get sensitive, and Harry was getting mad about that, Hagrid's response to Harry's anger was just awesome. I'm only joking, he said, patting Harry gently on the back and sending him face first into a table. Sometimes I think Hagrid forgets that he's a giant and very, very powerful.
Yes.
I knew you hadn't really. I told Lockhart you didn't need to. You're more famous than him without even trying. But he didn't like that. Why am I turning into like a Louisiana accent?
Well, I tell you, boy.
I'm going to try this again. I knew you really hadn't. I told Lockhart you didn't need to. You're more famous than him without even trying. And Harry said, well, I bet he didn't like that. Sitting up and rubbing his chin. Don't think he did, said Hagrid, his eyes twinkling. And then I told him my hat was happening.
The
And then I told him my...
And then I told him, boy, we're going to have a low country boil. And I told that Lockhart old y'all. You did. You got Cajun on us.
I'm going to get it. And then I told him I just can't do it. And then Hagrid goes on to say he told him I never read one of his books, and Lockhart decided to leave.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. We never would have finished the end of this chapter if I kept going.
Jeez. Okay, so anyway, so Hagrid tells him, like, I told Lockhart, you're more famous than him, and no, I've never read any of his books. And then he leaves. So after that, Hagrid takes the Golden Trio out and shows them a dozen huge pumpkins that he's been growing for the Halloween feast. And he's secretly been using magic to help the pumpkins grow to the size of boulders. And Hermione is like, oh, wow, you used a pretty good Engorgio charm there. And he goes, Ginny told me the same thing. And then he teases Harry again. He goes, I asked her what she was doing here, and she said she's just wandering the grounds, but I think she was trying to bump into a certain you-know-who. She wouldn't mind one of them autographed photos. Yeah, so good. But that's another... So we had the half-plucked rooster, and Ginny shows up around Hagrid's hut.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's a good
those
point out.
are
Yeah,
plot seeds right there.
Oh,
And remember,
nice.
Hagrid's not supposed to be doing magic because he was expelled in his third year, which is something cool that she brings from the first book that plays a huge part in the plot of this book. So that's chapter notable. Number 6, Hagrid's past. So, but Harry mentions that they didn't know why he had been expelled. So it's cool. Just a little throwaway thing. She just adds it in there. It's like, oh, yeah, we already knew that from last year. She's just catching us up on Hagrid. So then they head back up to school, and as soon as they step inside the castle, Professor McGonagall's there. Professor McGonagall's like, good, Weasley, Potter, tonight, detentions. Okay, well, what are we doing? Ron, you're going to be polishing the silver in the trophy room with Filch. No magic. And Harry, you're going to be with Professor Lockhart, helping him with his fan mail. And Harry's like, please let me go polish silver with Filch. Like, please. And she's like, nope, Lockhart requested you specifically. So Harry goes to detention, and when he gets there, Lockhart wants him to address envelopes. He's absolutely addressing this, or he's absolutely dreading this. And as Harry is addressing different envelopes, Lockhart is talking to him. And Harry's not paying attention. He's doing some, yeah, oh, okay, yeah. And then we get two of, some of Lockhart's best lines where he goes, fame's a fickle friend, Harry. And we also get, celebrity is as celebrity does. Remember that.
Remember that, Harry.
So to Harry, time just went on, and he felt as though he had addressed 1,000 envelopes. And as he was thinking, oh, well, please, it has got to be close to time. It has to be close to time being up. He heard something. Some would call it a chapter notable number 7.
Yes, it's a good one.
It was a voice to chill the bone marrow, a voice of breathtaking, ice-cold venom. Come to me. Let me rip you. Let me tear you. Let me kill you.
And again, I'm pretty sure this is something only Harry can hear. Yeah. So obviously is... No, go ahead.
Here's my question. So in the book it says that you can hear the candles. When candles get low into the melted wax, they start to sizzle a little bit.
Yeah.
And he can hear Lockhart's talking. But he heard this. Now, here's my question to you. When a snake is speaking parcel tongue, it sounds like it's hissing, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine Harry is hearing something louder than a hiss. I can't imagine that the language that Harry is hearing is louder than what the hiss actually is. So Lockhart could have heard the hissing,
thought it was a candle.
But it just sounded like a candle.
Yeah.
So I think Lockhart did hear it, obviously didn't interpret anything as a voice.
He probably thought nothing of it, yeah.
Thought nothing of it because he's talking away, and you've got the sound. It's specifically in the book. It says, the sizzling of the candle. So I think Lockhart did hear it, but he didn't hear any words.
No. Harry jumped up in shock. Lockhart didn't even hear anything. He chalked it up to, they must be tired. And it's been nearly 4 hours. Again, I had to point this out right here. Another detention that's 4 hours long.
4 hours long.
What are they doing over here at Hogwarts?
Well, now it is a Saturday.
Isn't detention usually like 30 minutes or an hour maybe at the most?
So.
4 hours? The other one was, 6, 7 hours in the middle of the night? And this is still at night. Why are all the detentions at night? I mean, I guess it makes sense, like after all the classes and everything, but you could do the detention directly after class.
But this is a Saturday. Why are we doing detentions on a Saturday? Stop it, folks.
That's true. Yeah, they do some weird things over here.
What's going on at Hogwarts?
Harry strained to hear the voice again, but heard nothing. Ron wasn't in the dormitory when Harry got there. You know, he's been gone for 4 hours, so he had to wait another 30 minutes, which means Ron's detention was at least 4.5 hours long.
Jeez. With Filch.
When he got back, Ron's arm had never been so sore. Then he had another slug attack, all over a special award for services to the school. He had to clean that one for a long time as well.
And that is also part of chapter notable number 7, the voice and the award. This award. Yes. So she plants so many seeds in this chapter.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, I threw up. I had to, what did he say? I had to clean that one at least 50 times or something like that.
Well, there was one that he couldn't get off the trophy. He had to do that one 14 different times before Filch was good. But this one, he threw up on it. I got slugs on it, and it took him forever to get the slime off of it.
Well, it would have been Filch's prized possession, I would assume, right?
Services to the school.
And it's worth mentioning his arm was sore because he couldn't use magic to clean up anything. He had to do it the old-fashioned Muggle way. So Harry told Ron, of course, exactly everything he had heard, and that Lockhart couldn't hear the voice, neither of them understanding or knowing where the voice could come from.
Yeah. Because even Ron, he goes, if it was somebody invisible, he would have had to open up the door and walk in. So they're just like, I don't know.
Well, even if the door opened up and someone walked in, I think Lockhart would have played it off dismissively as well and said something about, I don't know, he would have took credit for nobody being there, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I could imagine Lockhart.
So this was another fun chapter, albeit it was not as fun as the last chapter. The introduction of Gilderoy Lockhart is probably one of my favorite chapters thus far.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's still a lot going on here. I think if they would have taken this chapter out, we would be missing a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sets the stage. She's now building the character of Lucius Malfoy, and she adds to him without him even being here. So now we dislike Draco more. We
got the chickens. We've got Jenny. The voices.
Rereading this chapter is just as good as reading it for the first time, if not better, because you pick up on all of the
there's
hints
so
that you had no
much
clue.
setup in here.
The first time you read it, you're like, of course Hagrid would have a half-plucked rooster on his table. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, even while I was doing the review, I didn't really I just kind of brushed through that. Then when he mentioned something about it, I was like, that's right. That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff stuffed into this chapter. And if you don't take your time to listen or read the chapter, you're going to miss it. Just kind of like I did.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Ginny doesn't have a relationship with Hagrid.
No, so she has no reason to be over there.
Yeah, the first time that she would have met Hagrid is the same time all the first years met Hagrid and got on the boats to the castle. Other than that, it's not like she had with Harry, or that Hagrid had with Harry, and then by consequence, Ron and Hermione. So the half-plucked rooster, and then Ginny just randomly being at Hagrid's hut. It's like, oh.
Well, thank you all for joining us. If it wasn't for you, there would be no Squibscorner. Just remember that. What would Lockhart say?
Celebrity is as celebrity does. Remember that.
Yes. Don't forget to like, share, and follow wherever you're listening. And join us next time when we review Chapter 8 of the Chamber of Secrets, The Death Day Party. And I can't wait for this one. So far, this book is way better than the first one. I mean, of course, it kind of has to be, but
And
it's not as all over the place. It's more in chronological order. It more makes sense. It sets up more of a plot. It's all around better.
And if you've only watched the movies, you won't know anything about the Death Day party.
No, you won't. Which is one thing that's so exciting about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, go ahead and sign us out.
Fame's a fickle friend, Harry. By Gilderoy Lockhart.
Squibscorner is hosted by Jeremiah Lobaugh and co-hosted by Andrew Beecham, myself. We would love to hear from you, so drop us a rate and review. To inquire about being a guest, or if you have questions, comments, or just want to give us your Harry Potter story, email us at squibscorner@gmail.com. To watch Harry Potter merch unboxings, follow Jeremiah's YouTube, Accio Potter Guy. Lastly, you can leave us a voice memo and follow us on Instagram at Squibscorner Podcast.